Possibly the craziest show of all time. The Boys just wrapped its 4th season, and while it wasn't my favorite season of the show, it definitely wasn't a bad season of television. But I couldn't help but think throughout the season that this is just a placeholder and a setup for the 5th and final season. I said right after season 3 that The Boys should end with season 4, and I think they definitely could have, because a lot of stuff this season was just very slow, and it seems like we're kind of at the same place we were at the start of this season. As much as we love Homelander, we can't just keep dragging out how crazy he is. We gotta, The Boys, somebody's gotta defeat him or he's gotta win. We can't just keep dragging this on forever or it's gonna get repetitive, which is what it's starting to feel like. I think that is the main problem this season. There is such little movement with the characters, with the storyline. We're at the same place we were at the start of this season pretty much with some of these characters, or their storylines didn't move until the end and it's just going into season 5. The thing about setup seasons, some of them work, but I think most of the time it just doesn't work at all, and it doesn't make the season rewatchable compared to the other seasons. I know when I go to rewatch this whole show for season 5, I'm gonna have a fun time with 1, 2, and 3 because I really love those seasons and I think they're damn near perfect. But this season, honestly, it's going to be a hard rewatch because it's just filler. And also, I bet season 5 will make this season a little bit better, but as for this season as its own standalone, wasn't my favorite. And because this season is so filler, everyone just felt a little too safe this season. Because they were leading to the final season, they want pretty much everyone to be there. Well, almost everyone. They had to make it through this season. I remember in, I think, episode 5, I believe, when they had the V'd-up animals, the V'd-up chickens, they killed all, the extra background characters, and none of the main characters had any problem surviving. And that just takes you out of the show a little bit, takes you out of the stakes. It doesn't seem like the stakes are as high as they really should be. And even the main character of Butcher, who is literally dying this whole season, never ever feels like he's really dying. I might cough a little, he might throw up, but he just seems safe throughout the entire season. But also because this season is so filler, that means some more unnecessary drama. My main problem with that is especially with the character of Annie Starlight. For example, in the last episode of the show, she was so mad at Huey for Huey sleeping with someone who's the exact replica of her and he didn't know at all, and she was acting like she expected him to know, and she got all mad at Huey. And that happened a lot throughout this season, with her getting mad at characters for something that's not a big deal, or something she couldn't, or something that they couldn't have stopped. Honestly, this just made the character of Annie a lot more unlikable, and honestly, it got to a point where I really stopped caring for her character, a character who I really loved in the first 3 seasons. Also, the character of Ryan, Homelander's son, he kind of was just switching sides each episode he was in. Whenever he's with Homelander, he's like, I want to be with Butcher, and whenever he's with Butcher, he's like, I want to be with Homelander. And it was just annoying that he couldn't consistently be on one side throughout the show. He just kept switching off and on until the finale, when you know what happens and he's really on Homelander's side. It took the whole season for him to figure it out, and I felt like at the end of season 3 we pretty much knew he was going to be on Homelander's side because of the ending. But no, since we had to drag it out this whole season to find out whose side he was going to stay on. Also, the character of Frenchie felt a little bit out of character this season. He was dating someone at the beginning of the season whose parents he killed, and he slept with this guy and he never ever told him until he found out. That was just very stupid and out of character for Frenchie. I don't really understand why he would do that. Also, I believe Frenchie should have just been with Kimiko from the start of the season. They set it up last season. I thought going into the season they were already dating, but no, this whole season they weren't until the very last episode, and I'm just like, that they just could have done that from the beginning. And it seems like the thing with Frenchie and Kimiko is they really just ran out of stuff for them to do. They just brought out the cliche storyline of my past is catching up to me, and they could do so much more, especially with these characters who are so interesting. Also, I gotta talk about the Tech Night episode. Yes, you all know what I'm talking about. While the memes that came out of that episode were great, that episode as a whole was probably the worst episode of the whole series for me. You get to watch Huey getting assaulted for 10-15 minutes, and I don't know if they're trying to make it seem like it's a funny thing, but it was just very uncomfortable to watch, and not in the good fun boys way. It was just I really can't wait for this episode to end, and I never really felt that with this show before this episode. Also, some of the twists this season were just not as twisty as they were going for. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character being not real and just in Butcher's mind was the most obvious twist ever. I mean, I think everyone caught on to that by the 3rd episode, and then they ended a whole episode revealing that, and we were all like, yep, we've known for a while. Like, if they were going to do that storyline, I think they could have done it a lot better where it wasn't so obvious that he wasn't real. I'm not sure how they could have done that, but it was just a little too obvious, and I think everyone understood that. And I honestly think this character was a waste of Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He's such a good actor, and they could have done so much more. I mean, they might be saving that for season 5, but I think when everyone heard Jeffrey Dean Morgan was going on to this show, we were all so excited to see what he brings to the table, and he didn't really even do much this season. But while I did have a lot of problems with this season, there were plenty of things I really liked with this season. Number one, my favorite thing of the season, my favorite storyline was the A-Train redemption arc. This will go down as one of the best redemption arcs ever. I mean, A-Train really started out at the beginning of the show as the first character we really hated. He killed Huey's girlfriend, but each episode this season, A-Train was trying to do the right thing, and it was getting better, and not in a cheesy or corny way. It felt earned. The scene where A-Train saves MM's life and then sees that kid, and the kid looks at him and smiles, and A-Train smiles back, that is honestly probably my favorite scene of the season, and one of the best scenes of the show that really summed up A-Train's arc and why he's doing this. And then also when A-Train saves Butcher and Annie from the Deep and Black Noir, that was the first like cheery moment of the whole season, and it was just a really cool fight first of all, and a really cool moment for A-Train. Also, the new characters this season, Firecracker and Sister Sage, were both great additions and brought a whole new flavor to the show, especially Sister Sage. Right from the start, she became one of my favorite characters of this season. She doesn't just like listen to what Homelander tells her to do. She brings something new to the table. Homelander listens to her, or at least for some of the season, and we didn't really ever see that with any character in the show. I just really loved her character and was excited every time she came on screen. And I honestly, unlike most, I really liked the start of the season. The first 4 episodes, I didn't really have many problems with it, but by far my favorite episode of the season was episode 4. Homelander, of course, this whole season is the star of the show. He's so fascinating to watch, and we don't know what he's going to do next. And Anthony Starr's performance of him is even better and better. Each season it gets better. But you see this for sure in episode 4, where we dive deeper into Homelander's past, what he was like growing up, where he grew up. And I love diving deeper into villains' past and why they are the way they are. And seeing how Homelander grew up, you can't help but feel bad for this guy who's really a monster. I mean, this whole episode was haunting and disturbing, and you know, kind of what makes The Boys work so well is this episode. Another storyline I really liked this season was Huey and his family, a storyline that I wasn't loving at first, but that episode where his dad dies, that was really emotional, and the whole episode with that just was really well done. And Jack Quaid, this whole season, Huey this season might be Huey's best season. He really takes that leadership role, and I really liked Huey this whole season, and seeing him team up with guys like Kimiko, having them like be a duo, and also like him and A-Train, him and MM. He had some really great dynamics this season. And Victoria Newman was one of my favorite characters this season. I loved every time she was on screen. I wish she was sticking around because she adds something new to the show where she's not like a good guy, bad guy. She's in the middle, which is a lot of characters on the show, but she's a little different, especially because she has powers. I wish she was sticking around, but unfortunately not. And also that finale was pretty great. I don't have many problems with that, and the ending was sick, and that cliffhanger was crazy, and I still can't wait to see more of The Boys, even though this is the weakest season of the show. It was just an overall filler season, which just isn't great. I mean, I understand some things they did, some things I feel like it was just didn't need to be there, but I'm still gonna watch this, so I still love this show. I don't think this season ruined the show by any means. I will be checking out season 5. I can't wait for season 5, especially after that killer cliffhanger. But let me know what you guys thought about The Boys season 4 in the comment section down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know all of that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.